Hey, what's up? It's Ashley motherfucking Corf. Today I am doing a little bit different of a live stream, testing some stuff out, but also I saw this late yesterday and I wanted to address a lot of misconceptions about what was said in the articles that has appeared on multiple media outlets since the initial article that I saw late yesterday about Hilary Duff and Gwen Paltrow talking about some things in the fitness space that are very detrimental and very harmful to not just women, but also to men as well, because arguably Hilary Duff has been a millennial icon and has a massive, massive fan base. And this is no shade to either one of them. A lot of the time, as an expert, I see people misunderstanding different concepts in fitness because they don't know any better, and then they take it and run with it, and then when they have a massive audience like Hilary and Gwyneth have, then it can easily spread and infiltrate into the masses, and then that's when we have a lot of people following tactics that are harmful and do not work. I have seen this in different trainers and fitness brands that are more well known than mine is at the point, but they have said to not speak on things that are harmful because it's shaming the individuals who are doing it, or that it's not inherently wrong. It's just a matter of what works for you. However, as somebody who has multiple masters in biology, I have a bachelor's in biology, including nutrition and energy, and I have multiple fitness certifications. There is a difference between what is harmful, flat up, and what works for you. Those are two completely different things. They're not one and the same. It would be like in another industry, like business. There are tactics that are going to burn you out, and they're harmful. And if you are in a leadership position in the business world, in the business space, you should speak out on it. And if you don't, it's just basically like you're just acting like it doesn't exist. So if I was to not address it, it would be acting like it does not exist, which I am very, very hyper aware. Whether it was somebody as popular as Hilary Duff and Gwyneth Paltrow or not, it would still be something that would have to be addressed from an expert's perspective. More importantly than that, I have actually been overweight and obese. I struggled with childhood obesity. I struggled with food addictions for 8.5 years. I was in this long-term state of grief while my grandpa was dying from stage 4 cancer, and I didn't have an outlet. I didn't know really how to handle it or cope. It was my first rodeo with death, and I got to be very, very, very unhealthy. I was a borderline diabetic. I would have kept gaining weight up until the point of hospitalization because there was no end in sight, and I had to take control of my health and fitness between 13 and 14 years old during a 7-month time span. I completely revamped my lifestyle. I have never skipped a meal in my life. I've never calorie counted. I've never fasted. I've never done detoxes. And there are a plethora of tactics in the mainstream industry that are super, super duper harmful for people. But just as a little recap here, I'm actually somebody who's been on both sides of the coin. And to make matters even worse, I was heavy during a time frame in the late 90s and 2000s when fad diets were really rampant. They are still rampant, but there are more and more people like myself in the fitness space who are speaking out on these tactics, how harmful they are to people long term, not just physically, but psychologically as well. And it really gives the fitness industry a bad rap when it is all about making sure you are the healthiest version of yourself. That's essentially why I do what I do at the end of the day, and it is not about trying to starve yourself or anything for the sake of fitting into a pant size that has been heavily manufactured and to making you think this is what you have to be. So I've been on both sides of the coin. I've also been a massive fan of Hilary Duff for pretty much since the early 2000s, since primary school, when she first became really, really popular. So again, this is not meant a shade to her or to Gwen. Gwen has been in hot fucking water for a very long time. But again, I've worked with clients and they have followed very harmful tactics before. And they've been very intelligent people. They've been very successful people. I have gone on here and talked about some of my past clients. They have been running 6-figure businesses, okay? They're not stupid people. They are just, you're not an expert at everything. So a lot of the time it comes off as sheer ignorance. And it comes off as like monkey see, monkey do. And a lot of the time when we're working with human nature, people will see somebody do something who they know, and then they'll follow it without actually knowing, is this harmful or not? This is not just in fitness, and it's not just in the weight loss space. You could look at it from every angle in fitness. Pilates, yoga, endurance training, athletic performance, training for a marathon. I'm not an expert in those areas, but I would bet money there are mistakes that people make that are detrimental to your health or to your performance on an athletic event or even in your daily life. An example of that is I used to be on the swim team as a really, really little kid, like years and years ago. It was a long time ago. I'm 28 now, but I had a swim instructor before I was her student. She actually was in her like late teens, early 20s. She was very young, but I was a kid. So, they were all like that, teenagers, early 20s for coaches and stuff like that. But she actually was not eating enough food. And I don't know the details. I don't know if it was because she thought she had to lose weight and was following a harmful method to do so, or if she just really was really under assuming how much she needed to be eating. I don't know. And I don't remember her name, and that's not relevant. But she actually passed out in the showers at the training facility. And they basically had to bring her back and everything. And this was before I was her student. So she didn't have diabetes. She didn't have a health condition that could have caused the low blood sugar. She was otherwise healthy, otherwise in shape, but she wasn't eating enough, and she ended up passing out in the showers, and they had to bring her back. So even if you do not have a health condition, there are tons of people in fitness who have them. You would never know. But if you're not feeling your body enough, you can get a low blood sugar and conk out, and who knows what could happen. And even more importantly than that, you're not fueling your body correctly. So I'm going to get into some main points I want to address about the article, about what was said, and debunk them, basically. So let's get into it. First one was that she was saying that she does lots of cardio because she's afraid of getting bulky. This is a myth. There are a couple different things of why females or women in fitness get bulky. Number one is genetics, okay? I come from genes that are on both sides of the spectrum. Very, very athletic and very pencil thin, naturally, as long as nothing else is going on. So my body's always been kind of half and half. I've always been kind of half very, very athletic and half very almost like skinny looking. Most people don't assume I lift the weights that I do, or they're surprised to find that out because I don't look like the most buff person on the planet, and I have been lifting seriously since 2016. It honestly has a lot to do with your genes, and how people sometimes will circumvent that is if they have the genes to not get the physique that they want. Sometimes people do take shit like steroids. And I'm not saying it's inherently right, but when you look at somebody who looks a certain way, you have to ask yourself, okay, what's their genes? What's their genetic makeup? Some people, like Olympic athletes, like, yes, they have to work very, very hard and smart, and they have to work in an environment where they are built to perform. But there's also this other coin. You have to have it genetically within you to get to that level of performance and endurance. I'm a biologist. I've been a biologist for a very, very long time, and I know this to be true. There is always this debate about nature over nurture, but unless if you have it genetically within you to become a complete beast or to get into a certain physique, you can train all day long. You can do all these different workouts. You can hire the most expensive trainers out there on the market. You can do all these crazy fucking things, but at the end of the day, you have to have it genetically. And I do have those genes, but I also have the genes where if you don't work out and you don't eat healthy, you will become overweight to obese. That's my family makeup. And some of them were arguably very, very skinny without trying. So I got most of the genes where if I don't work out and I don't eat healthy, I am overweight to obese no matter what else is going on. So that is the genetic makeup that I have. But my dad was an athlete in high school and in college for football and for ice hockey and a lifter as well. So I put in the work every single day to max out, to get PRs, and a lot of the time grown women and a lot of grown men are very surprised at the weights that I lift. A lot of that has to do with my discipline, my consistency to show the hell up, but also a percentage of it does have to do with the fact that I do have those genes within me to lift insane amounts of weight that you're just looking like, what the hell is going on? So I'm not saying if you don't have it within you, you can't. I have a couple people in my family who were endurance athletes. They used to do like the marathons, like the Boston Marathon and the triathlon. And when I was a runner and a cyclist in high school, I was doing like the crazy fucking cycle races, like 25, 50 miles, right? But arguably, like, at that point, the genes are a little bit far removed to be like, okay, well, this causes this. But at the same time, you have to keep that in the back of your head. And it is what I'm trying to say, largely for majority of people, if you lift heavy weights for women, you're not going to look like Holtzilla. Muscle is compact. So how is a good way of putting this? I don't have like dioramas or like, I know some people have the actual like, this is a pound of muscle and this is 3 pounds of fat, and you can actually see the size. So I'm not going to try to show you with my hands without actually having the scientifically accurate one. But fat is fat. It's very, there. It takes up a lot of space, obviously, whether you want it to or not. Muscle is more compact. That is, without getting too much into the scientific shit, that's basically it. So a lot of the time women are afraid to lift weights because they're afraid of looking like a guy. I'm just being flat up. But I don't care. I don't give a shit what I look like. Like, I'm gonna go lift weights no matter what. And I'm almost 6 foot tall, so at that point, that stuff just kind of goes out the fucking window. But a lot of women are afraid of lifting weights, and your metabolism actually runs more optimally when you are strength training instead of just doing cardio. Cardio will burn off calories and it'll burn off fat immediately, but the more muscle mass you have, the more of an efficient fat burning machine your body is. Now, another reason why women don't get super bulky with weightlifting is because we are hormonally different than biological men. We don't have as much testosterone as they do. Some women, some ethnicities have a little bit more testosterone, okay, than others. It's just kind of a fact. It's a very small difference. It's a very small difference. But across the different ethnicities, that number genetically does vary a little bit between biological women and biological men. That's just facts. It's just science. I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm not going to get into them because there's so many ethnicities out there. So I'm not getting into all that. But women have a lot more estrogen. So you are biologically, you would either have to have a combination of some sort of genetics to look like that. And even then, it would still, you would have to really, really, really intentionally work at it. No different than Olympic athletes trying to win an event. Genetically, they have it within them to be a star at whatever event, right? But they still have to work very, very, very hard and smart at that goal to achieve that gold medal. And it takes time. Like, it's not like you can get it in 60 or 90 days. That mentality, you'll see a small result, but after being a lifter since 2016, I know for a fact that your body is very resilient. And even if you've gotten out of shape and then somebody gets back into shape, I've seen this cycle happen with people. They may be able to bounce back, but the beauty of having these like year after year, day after day consistencies like I've had, it's that you are consistently getting 1% better on a stepwise fashion. So that's another reason why I've lifted kind of insane amounts of weight for a chick, and I don't look like Hulkzilla. You know, some people would say, oh, well, I'm not the skinniest person in the world. No, I'm not. I'm not. But, you know, like, people would see my calves and then I'd go lift like 600 pounds and they're just kind of like, your calves don't look like you could lift this amount. And I'm just like, yeah, I've been doing this for so many years. I've potentially trained this way. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's not like I just go onto a calf machine and do 600 pounds. Nobody can. Even if you have the genes to, it doesn't work like that. But at the end of the day, this fear of getting bulky in the women fitness space has come down to a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of harmful marketing from other companies, intentionally making women feel like they have to stick to very, very light weights, usually pink or purple in color, or else they're gonna look like their husband, or their husband's gonna leave them, or like, a lot of it also has to do with how the media has portrayed women for so long, that you have to be this blonde, skinny chick in order to be loved and adored and valued in society. And that's not true. There's no harm if that's you, but fitness is way more than that teeny little box. It's very, very wide. And that's not saying like size-wise like you. There's just so many aspects of fitness that you could go into. Like, my physique makeup as a lifter versus a long-distance athlete are two different things. Okay? I'm just saying, like, from high school to now, my physique has changed. My back used to not be as weaned out. Because why? Because I was doing crazy amounts of running and cycling to train, and I was having lifting be this cross-training thing. So when I shifted to being a serious lifter, my physique changed. I used to have really no lower body, no upper body, and the weights that I was using were all like 15 pounds or less. Maybe 20 pounds occasionally, but I'm just being honest, most of the time it would be 15 pounds or less. And my physique has changed. And I love it. I love it. It was one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me. And I love it. I love being a lifter. I love getting in the zone and hitting a PR. But that physique change really made me have to get over stuff like sizes and stuff like that. Because I transformed my lifestyle, went from being, you know, the the fat kid at school to being in shape. And then I went on to doing long distance athletics. So I was a certain size. I'm a certain size now. I'm not, it doesn't even matter because all brands and all companies are different. I have fit into pretty much every size on the spectrum. That's very, very irrelevant to how you feel. And I got to that point with doing the long distance athletics where it just wasn't for me anymore. And I wanted to get into lifting more seriously. And that's what I did. So my physique is different, but I wouldn't call myself a Holtzilla. Now, some of the dudes that I used to lift with at 6:30 in the morning in undergrad, they would have these really cool nicknames for me and stuff like that. I think because they just thought it was cool that a chick was lifting seriously with them in the morning. There were a few of us. I wasn't the only one. So we just had this sense of community and a sense of culture that was just really cool. And it was unique and it was awesome and it was badass. And I fucking loved that part of my day in college. But I wouldn't see it as a bad thing. I don't think just because my physique has changed over time, I don't call it a bad thing. You're going to evolve. You've heard me talk about this shit on content before. You're going to evolve. You're going to get a result for changing your lifestyle, and then you're going to find different interests. Hell, you may want to go be a Pilates boutique owner. I don't know, but you're going to find your groove. You're going to find your things in the fitness space, and that's that, and that's cool, but at the end of the day, you can't fear a physique. You can't fear getting a certain result because it's just a reaction, right? And when you learn that fear is just a reaction to sometimes what you've been told or what's been conditioned in you to believe, I wouldn't have gotten 1,000-pound club if I feared getting bulky. And at the end of the day, like, I've loved what I have been able to do and prove to myself in the gym every single day. Even with what I've been going through with my sister being really sick and stuff like that. I'm very grateful that that type of mentality for me was just not even in the picture. But it's a shame that that's been a mentality that has been prevalent for so many years. And it was prevalent when I was first getting in shape 15 years ago and first learning how to work out. I was a newbie at one point in time. I used to not even know like what to do for a workout. I was a newbie, and I have no shame in admitting that because you start somewhere. But it's a shame that this concept of getting bulky if you lift heavy as a chick has still been prevalent a decade and a half later. So it's time to let that go. I don't want that holding you back. Don't hold back. Don't hold yourself back. I'm serious. Like if you stood to little tiny weights your whole life, that's on you. But I'm telling you, like, you are capable of a lot. And I am so glad I proved that to myself every single day. And you can prove it to yourself any workout, okay? We're just talking about how a lot of women don't want to lift weights at all, or they're afraid of going past like 2 to 5 pounds because they think they're going to get bulky, and it's like, no. So we just went over that one. There's a couple more that I want to talk about. Next one that was mentioned was that they, as in Hilary and Gwen, drank coffee in the morning to starve off hunger. Hi. Okay. Here's the deal. She was talking about how she wakes up hungry, like really hungry. Hunger is your body's response, and it's your signal. I need food. You can't get it to go away. You may get into this state where you think it's gone away, but then your body has kicked into what's called survival mode. And there's all these biochemical reactions that take place. Some people say it's a similar feeling to being high or to having a sense of euphoria, or like if you've ever seen an interview of somebody who was starving in the wilderness and they got rescued like a week or two later, by the time you start hallucinating, it's not optimal. It's not optimal, okay? It's harmful to your body, number one, because you're not giving it the fuel it needs to function. Whether you are overweight or not, your body still needs fuel. If we're not feeding it, it's going to start looking for other sources of food. And people always hope it's fat. You can't tell your body, go eat my gut. You can't think to yourself, eat my stomach away, eat my lower pooch away, or something like that, and it doesn't work. You may have a thinner upper body, and it is eaten away. Yeah, it takes it from a whole 360 when you get into that state, including muscle mass, and you need muscle to optimize your metabolism. So it doesn't make any sense to try to get rid of a bodily response that you can't get rid of. It doesn't work like that. It's like a double entendre or something. You can't, you're hungry or you're starving, and those are two terms that have relatively different definitions if we're getting super technical here. But it's like, what's an example? You can't get rid of something that's already there, basically. And it's there for a reason. It's like, you can't stop away the red light. Like, the red light's there for you to stop your car. You can't hit your brake pedal harder and have the red light turn green faster, basically. There's the example. You can't, when you come up on a red light, it doesn't matter how hard or how intensive or how intentional you're hitting the brake pedal, whether you're listening to the radio or not, or having kids behind you scream or not, you can't stop away the red light. You can't make it turn green faster. We've all done this where we've been running late to something, or something's urgent and we're sitting at the red light and we're just like, please turn green, please turn green, please turn green, like over and over again. And you're like burying your hands and you're white knuckling the steering wheel. That doesn't make the light turn faster. So you can't starve away hunger. The hunger is there because your body is telling you, I need fuel. It's like the little ping that goes off in your car when you're driving and you're pulled up at the red light, and it says, like, you're so many miles to empty. It's reminding you, hey, I'm about to crap out. And then you are, instead of being 5 minutes late to work, you're going to be an hour late to work because you had to call AAA or a tow truck and you had to get a ride and all this bunch of shit. So what would be the easiest course of action here? It would be just to pull into a gas station and fuel your car. Put fuel in your car. Because why? Because if you're in traffic and you're already late to work because of the traffic or whatever's going on, and if your car craps out on the side of the highway, you're going to be way more late to work. You're going to be way more late to work than if you had just pulled into that Wawa for a couple minutes to get some fuel into your car. The same thing goes with this concept that they were talking about. They think that they can drink coffee to starve off hunger. Coffee is caffeine, but at the end of the day, it goes right through your system. If you are a coffee person, you know this. First thing in the morning, you drink your coffee, you gotta go take your shit, okay? It ain't no hiding it, it's just what fucking happens. So, it's metabolized very quickly in your body. It goes through you, basically. It's not going to sustain you for very long. You may get through an hour or two on coffee alone, and then you're going to be jittery because you don't got anything else in your system to help sustain what you're doing, whether you're a music artist or a business owner or not. Your brain eats up most of your nutrition because it is the powerhouse of your body. It needs all of this fuel to function. And if you're trying and you're actively trying to be a better business owner or a better mom or a better music artist, and Hilary is all of the above, then you need all the healthy fuel you can get for this motherfucker up here. So you think you're doing a benefit by doing that, and you want this certain physique or this certain look, but in reality, you're hurting yourself long term. Okay, and I'm not saying you're not going to be able to think straight at all, but if you do this on a consistent enough basis, the decisions and the things that you do are not going to be optimal. And you may not see it right away, but long term, like month over month, I don't know how long they had been doing this for, but this gets into my next point. Where it's, I'm looking at what I wrote down with what the article said. They said they would have no food all day. Pretty much no breakfast except for coffee. Bone broth for lunch, which is very, very bare bones nutrition. No pun intended there. And then a dinner, basically. So, yeah. That's all that was. So they had no food they would have no food all day. Essentially, like Gwen would be the one posting this, and then I guess this is what Hilary was also following. So if you've got like meetings all day, and even if you don't have meetings all day, your brain still needs to function, your body still needs to function. Intentionally not giving your body what it needs is intentionally like letting your car crap out on the side of the highway. And what happens when that happens? And you're on the interstate or you're on a road that's busy and there's no gas station in sight. You gotta call for help. You gotta call a tow truck. You gotta call AAA. You gotta call somebody. That takes time. That takes energy. It's a much bigger pain in the ass than if you just went to the damn gas station and put $20 of gas in your car. So that's essentially what is going on here. Long term, your body is going to see damage on all fronts. Honestly, you're not going to be able to function optimally. You're not going to have the energy to do certain things like work out, and then the physique that you're looking for, it's going to give like you're sick instead of in shape. And that's arguably not what people want or need. And there are people that are sick and they can't help it and they lose a shit ton of weight and they just kind of wither away. And it's not something to make it into a fad. It's not something to make it into like, this is what we need to do or whatever to be in shape. But it's like, if you are planning to work out 4 or 5 days a week, you need energy, you need fuel. You're not just, unless if that is your only job, and arguably if it's your only job, you are doing some serious endurance training and stuff like that. You need fuel, or your body is quite literally will crap out. Like my swim instructor I had as a kid before I was her student, she was telling us this, so we knew, hey, if you're hungry, you gotta eat. Don't be trying to like skip meals and shit like that when you're doing heavy duty training or at all. That was her message for us essentially. And the same goes for even if you're just trying to lose weight or you're just trying to get in shape. Even if you're losing weight, you still need to eat. If you don't eat, You're not going to have energy to work out. You're not going to have the energy to improve your workouts. You're not going to have the mental capacity to have the mindset shifts that are necessary. You're going to become pre-focused and super hyper focused on food. And arguably, like, you have a much higher chance of failing if that's all you're thinking about all day long versus not. So I am going to wrap this up, and I'm not shocked entirely, because fad diets and shit like that are still very rampant in the fitness space. Unfortunately, it's something that my company actively works against. This is why my program is called the Diet Killer Plan. But I wanted to pop up on here and address the fuck out of this shit, because it's just, a lot of it is just like ignorance or something on their part. They just don't know any better. And it also goes to show you got to be careful what type of advice you follow. You got to be careful. You got to do your due diligence, basically, on making sure it's healthy, it's sustainable. And a lot of the time when people think healthy, it's not always healthy. And it really sucks to see, even if somebody doesn't have like a big platform or something like that, even if they don't have that, it still sucks to see this misinformation get spread. So I hope they realize what they're doing is harming themselves. Number one, it's also going to show other people that it's harmful. And I hope that they get a better plan in place. I hope that they change. I hope, I don't think they're ever going to see this video, but if they do, I hope that they do the inner work and they realize, hey, like, this is harmful and it's not helping anybody. It's not helping themselves. And at the long run, they are shooting themselves in the foot. And I hope that they figure out an actually healthier way of life. And that's that. I hope this video is helpful. I don't usually do too much of like breaking down certain articles and stuff, what people have said. But I saw this the other day, actually yesterday late, and I was wanting to pop on here yesterday, but I decided, it was already late, so I just wanted to address those 3 points, or those 3 takeaways from the article, in the interviews of what they were saying. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and I'm Ashley motherfucking Korf. I'm out.